snake oil that you don't need. And you read the title, so you know exactly which one we're doing. We're doing the Magpul bad lever, as in the battery assist device from Magpul. And this one's probably going to piss a whole bunch of people off because this is a product that I would classify as having commercial success. Came out a long time ago, and they're still selling them. So you can just take that at face value. They're obviously making money on them, so there are people still buying them. Much to my chagrin, we're going to do what we can about that here today, but this is what it looks like, and it's basically adds a thingamadongle to your bolt release for people that don't actually know what the heck they're doing. So to do this one, I actually had to balance the negatives first with some benefits of the device, because there are some benefits of the device. It's just, in my mind, I don't believe that the benefits outweigh the negatives. So whenever we talk about a rifle like this, when it comes to operating the bolt, as in locking the bolt for any administrative functions or perhaps malfunction clearance or anything like that, basically to lock the bolt open on this rifle, we have to come out of the firing position. So to lock the bolt, there's a variety of methods, but the one that I prefer is to rotate the rifle like this. You basically push like this, and then you run the charging handle back to the rear, and that locks the bolt. This device basically takes this lever here and sticks it right there. And the idea is that you can hit this thing, and what that'll do is pull down on this lever, allowing you to lock the bolt without ever having to switch hands or do any of that sort of stuff. Ew. So as someone who is clearly biased about the use of the bad lever, if we're intellectually honest for a moment, the thingamajig on the side of the AR-15 style of rifle that allows you to lock the bolt open sucks. Okay, it's not very well thought out, it's not very well laid out, it's not very well executed, it just is not good. So if you look at it from the perspective of a company saying, hey, that thing like really sucks, we should make a part that fixes that and makes it more user-friendly, well, then you have to look at that and say, hey, yeah, you know, Magpul actually, they were at least trying to think of a way to make it more user-friendly. The problem I have with it is that it really induces two types of problems in addition to attempting to solve the problem. And those are, first, a functionality problem, and then the second is an ethics problem. Today's video is brought to you by EuroOptic, which I don't understand why they called it EuroOptic, because they're all Americans, and I don't really understand the branding. And to describe EuroOptic, I want you to think about Big Daddy Unlimited for a second. Not that. Now forget about it. No monthly subscription or anything like that. And if it says it's in stock, it isn't a dropship company. It is physically at their premises, ready to go in a box to you. We've all had instances where we've ordered something that was in stock and it hasn't been delivered for months. They even have a division for what they call their red shipping offerings, which is a 1 to 2 day commitment on the item that you purchased. Unfortunately, I can't link directly to EuroOptic because they have some things on their website that YouTube doesn't like, but I will have a link over on the VSO affiliates page so that if you can click through and get all the way over there if that's something that you're interested in. And of course, it'll be affiliate links, so you know anything that you buy is going to... Thanks. The functionality problem, we've all seen the argument about, hey, don't add extra parts to your stuff because extra parts equal extra complexity, and more complexity equals more places that it could break, etc. Yeah, the Magpul bad lever only adds 3 parts, and they are non-moving parts. So it's a back plate, a front plate that's got the lever on it, and a screw. So really, it's not really interacting with any of the internal components on an active basis. So really, that's not what I'm talking about. What I would classify as one of the most attractive features of the AR-15 style of rifles is that it locks to the rear when you run out of ammunition, and it simply takes a push of a button to send a bolt home on a fresh magazine to start all over again. And adding the bad lever has the potential to interrupt that sequence. The problem being that we have added mass to that lever, and because we have added a small amount of mass to that lever, that spring tension in that magazine now must overcome that. And while it's totally capable of doing that, it slows the process down, and that bolt can overrun that bolt catch before it gets all the way outboard. Personally speaking, as a dude that runs the charging handle anyway and doesn't really use the push button, I don't really have a dog in that fight. In an attempt to replicate this, to show you, I went through my entire arsenal, and it took me several tries to get it to happen. I finally found a rifle that it would do it on, but in the process of doing that, I uncovered a couple other ones. Yeah, before we even get going, we have an issue here. So, to describe what's going on is this nubbin here on your AR is one of those dimensions that's not as tightly controlled as some of the other components. And that is because we basically cut that well in the lower deeper than it needs to be. So as long as that reaches a tolerance that is in the set point, it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit short, a little bit wide. But when you put the pad lever on there, in this particular build, it contacts the upper receiver. And what that is doing is ever so slightly pushing it outward. And what that does, if we look internally, is this is the internal component of that catch. When that gets pulled ever so slightly out because of the receiver, it brings it up. And what that does is cause an interference that can interact with the bolt carrier group and thus interrupt the firing sequence. So I can show you this here. I bet you this works without even having a magazine in the gun. With the mass down, as in plumb, it is pulling it. So when you go like that and you accelerate the gun up, all it is reinforcing that. Okay. Right? But because we have this extra mass here, if you rotate it like this, then what that does is slingshot the mass that direction. Okay. Because you're hitting the gun, right? So what I want you to do, I bet you I can do this on the first try.
I just timed it.
No, I overinserted. The reason it didn't work is because I overinserted your magazine.
God damn it, Kurt. Triceps, buddy. Hold on. Ready?
Hang on.
What the fuck?
Oops. You know what? I thought I was getting weak.
You are.
I thought I was getting weak.
You're a little bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted.
Yeah. I apologize in advance for any road noise that's bleeding through. I basically had to walk out behind the shop because my range truck is in the shop itself, and without it, I cannot access the range because the amount of rain that we've had lately just absolutely has shredded the road. So this should be a short segment anyway, so bear with me. 3 rounds. And just to show that there's no tomfoolery or subterfuge going on here, if I think it would be this way. If I pull on that, it will lock back. So so just that extra little bit of weight is keeping it from locking back. I specifically picked today to do this because, as you guys can see, it's cold outside. It's not exceptionally cold. It's only about 20 degrees. But this is the time of year that we see this kind of thing be more prevalent. I'm not going to sit here and continue to harp on it. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that there are some, not only documented here, but other people have done this in the past. There are some known issues that can result from integration of the device. And part of it can be just the adding of the mass, and the other part of it can be working fine when it's tight and then it loosens up and now you've got a wobbly bit on the side of the thing, and that can induce some of the same issues that we saw here. So again, that's just one aspect of it that I wanted to bring to your attention before we get to the ethics side of thing, which is the problem that I really have with the Magpul bag lever. So ethics. 4 rules of firearms safety. That the finger stays off the trigger until our sights are on target and we've made the decision to shoot. So the rifle comes up, the safety comes off, and we see it, we've got it lined up on the target, we've made the decision to shoot, and then we go into the trigger guard. When we add the bad lever to this rifle, what we have done is added a functionality inside that trigger guard. Right now, in this configuration, this rifle has one thing that happens in this space. And every other time that my hand is on this rifle and it's not in there, it looks like this. Now, a decent exception would be that depending on the length of your thumbs, you might have to do something like this to be able to reach it to sweep your safety selector back on to get there. But for the most part, it's either index point or in the trigger guard. And 99.9% of the weapons handling with any firearm, your finger should be outside the trigger guard, unless that, again, firearms sights are on target and we've made the decision to shoot. That's when we go to it. By adding another device inside that trigger guard, we have now violated the sanctity of that whole concept. And in my opinion, interrupting that neurological pathway that says, hey, we only go to the trigger guard when we mean to shoot something or anticipate that we're getting ready to shoot something. Doing other things in there degrades that absolutist idea that we don't go there unless we mean it. So I would take it here. Look at these 3 images. If you see something wrong with any of these 3 images and you say, no, that's unsafe, that's poor firearms handling, but you're all right with putting something else inside the trigger guard that you're supposed to mess around with that's right next to the bang switch, then I think that that's hypocritical. And again, the whole concept is that we are degrading one of the principles of firearm safety here by adding a device into a space that does one thing and one thing only. So that's my take on the Magpul bad lever. Well, I think it's an atrocious product that you should use under no circumstances whatsoever. And if you catch somebody using it, then you should send them today's video because they're wrong. And you should tell them that they're wrong. Because, again, while we went out and showed that there are some minor functionality problems that can result from using the product, those are overshadowed. And the benefits are far overshadowed by the potential of violating one of those rules of firearm safety. We don't accept those in any other circumstance. Why should we accept a product, particularly a product that targets people that don't know what the heck they're doing and teaches them that it's okay to do something with our finger inside the trigger guard besides use it for its intended purpose? Now, what I would really like to see, because I presented my perspective, is a vigorous discussion in the comment section down below about that ethics side of things. I don't really care about the functionality thing. That was really just fluff to put at the beginning of the thing to piss some people off who really like bad levers. I want to know what you guys think about that cheapening of the principles of firearm safety and how the bad lever does that. Is this a deal breaker for you? Is it something that you overlook? And how does that balance with your view on firearm safety? Thanks for watching the VSO Gun Channel. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you want to see more on this series, then hey, if you got suggestions, I'll take them. Leave them down below, and we'll see if we can do them. Thanks to everybody who supports the channel on Patreon and Subscribestar, and thanks to our sponsor for today for making today's video possible.